Hello, everybody. It's me, Lemoni, and I'm here with my best friend, ready to talk some New World for the New World Report this week. How are you doing?
Great, brother. How are you?
I'm solid. We have things to talk about, all right?
Yes, we do.
Now, what I'm gonna do is just keep doing that weird YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that stuff. But then you'll be coming over here, and I want you to head on over to Urz's channel to get the rest of the episode. We did Urz first, we're doing me second. Whatever way you want to watch it, just hit both the channels, do all the things. Do the thing to get the points. Anyway, Urs, I know we were kind of expecting some news, hopefully on this week. We didn't really get any news, but we're going to jump into this first topic. We're going to talk new PTR update. So on the 10th, we didn't talk about this because we had, it's been some time since we did our episode. But on the 10th, we got an update to the PTR patch notes, right? We saw some things, and we're going to walk through them. But I just want to know your general thoughts, all right? So first, I'm going to start with the expertise system, what they're doing, what they put live on the PTR. I don't know when this PTR is going to come out, but we're still chilling. What I'm seeing here, first thing, we talked about this a little on your channel. They're adding in a way to get gypsum orbs purchased from the faction shops once per day. I think that's a relatively good thing to do. I think it's a solid catch-up mechanic. Agreed?
Agreed. And if they're not going to sort of like orbs in the faction shop and allow you to buy multiple ones, I mean, you're sort of a lot of people are just sort of sitting on currency. And I do think this sort of helps stimulate like war activity and influence and things like that. So, yeah, I've always felt like there's only, I mean, we got to a point with the faction shop early on where like the faction shop gear was good at a point in wars early on, and then it's sort of really have gone away. So there's not really a lot to spend outside of orbs and maybe like the material converters, things like that. I don't know, man.
I've never used a material converter. I didn't even know it existed, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, never.
No, but I think it's a good call. And again, chip mechanics are so needed right now.
They're big. They're big.
A lot of people like myself missed like those early gear score runs where it was dropping pretty regularly. Scaled that back, and we have ways of doing it. But right now, the most efficient way is definitely running Laz and Gen, and just making those orbs that way.
Now, next thing, they are changing some gypsum stuff, all right? And I don't know why they call them weird names. So they say yellow topaz no longer has minimum drop time. So topaz potion you can probably get faster, so that's a nice change, right? Black gypsum reduced the cooldown, the drop cooldown from 10 minutes to 5 minutes, so you'll be able to get your onyxes faster. And then purples, they reduced the drop time from 120 seconds to 30 seconds. So I mean, we're getting faster with some of those gypsum too. Other big one I want to point out there is umbral shard gains, specifically from casts, right? Right now, if you create a cast and you're at 600 and you create one for a 601 item, you'll get 3 umbral shards, right?
Yeah, that's a problem. That's just like, they didn't know. I feel like they didn't even know when they made that.
It was just a waste. Yeah, it was just a waste.
Made no sense.
Now, baseline, they're going to do 100. So they're going to go a range of 3 to 200 is what we have on live. They're going to go 100 to 400, which I think is really solid. I think that's a good change in addition to everything else we see umbral shard wise, like in OPR from this PTR.
Yep.
That'll be solid. Smelter gear, tier 3 aptitude boxes. I don't think there's smelter gear in the game yet, so I haven't seen a piece. So there's that. But the big other one I want to talk about is the combat changes. So there's 3 weapons that are getting touched on a bit. All right. 1, Void Gauntlet. I know you're a Void Gauntlet boy, okay? So this one hits you, right? Petrifying Scream. We get a 10-second nerf on the cooldown. So it's increasing the cooldown from 15 seconds to 25 seconds. We're getting an Orb of Decay change, reducing some just base damage by 10% and the explosion damage by 30%. I don't think that's enough to really get the Void Gauntlet into a different place. I think you're still going to see one-shot ice spikes. I think you're still just going to see all kinds of stuff because even if you take an increased cooldown from 15 to 25 seconds, the Void Gauntlet itself has so much innate cooldown reduction on crit, and you can literally sit there like this, going like that for an hour and just get your cooldowns back down. It's not really going to make a difference. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. If you guys have ever participated in a war where they run a heavy set of Void Gauntlets, it's like you're literally getting screamed every which direction. It's ridiculous. I mean, you can't even move. I think it's a little less of an issue in OPR because you can sort of telegraph it and see it coming just because there's not as many players on the screen. But I don't think this really fixes a whole lot with the Void Gauntlet. Again, because of the cooldown sort of reduction.
I really think if they wanted to make a pretty big change that you nerf the root to 1.5 seconds. 100%.
Yeah.
1.5 to 2 seconds because that's enough where you're not going to you have enough of a chance to get out of a one-shot ice spike. You have enough of a chance to maybe fight it off, but a 3-second root off of every petrifying scream is just nuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we've got
Rapier.
rapier. Yeah,
Rapier. This one hurts the heart a little bit for me in PvP healing. We see Riposte is getting a 6-second addition to its cooldown. Evade is getting double the cooldown timer from 6 to 12. And Little Tornado Spin is getting 3 seconds on. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this is going to be that bad. I think built into the Rapier, if you hit your Riposte, you get cooldown reduction built in innately. Tornado Spin, if you back crit them, you get cooldown reduction. There's a lot of random cooldown reduction if you just hit them once or twice with your
yeah.
Rapier, to be honest. So I still think some people are panicking. Like I'm already seeing stuff like what's going to be the next PvP meta. I don't think it's going
I
to.
think most people use rapier to counter Void Gauntlet and
Yeah.
to get out of danger. So, increasing the cooldowns on these things. I mean, you're not getting out of danger multiple times. You're just sort of getting out of danger once.
Exactly.
Hiding and recovering, and then coming back into the fight. But I really don't think. And this is all on the right side tree, right? This is all.
It's all total right side. Yeah, complete right side nerf. Yeah. So I think you're right. Like I'm gonna have to run away, but there aren't many times where I'm gonna have to run away twice right in a row.
Yep.
But again, there are ways to get your cooldown reduced to the point where you can do that. I still think it's gonna be okay. I ran away, now I'm just stalling, and by the time I need it again, it's gonna be ready. So
yeah, I mean, maybe this changes the dynamic of when someone's chasing you, because you know how that was with like rapier. Like if someone runs off and it's just like, well, forget that. Yeah. I'm not going after that guy. Now, if there's an 18-second cooldown on some of the 12 seconds, 20 seconds, like maybe you see it through a little bit, consider it. Yeah. And then the biggest one here, Great Axe.
Great Axe. I think this is interesting. So they're reworking. They looked at all the PTR feedback. They're reworking the Great Axe change to now be a root on the initial pull that holds them in place and a stronger slow to make it harder for them to escape the damage pulse without using a movement ability. So that means your roll. I think they classify movement ability as your roll because there's not that many movement abilities in the game.
Right.
But in addition to all those, how do you feel about having that 1 second root?
I think this is a nice in between where they were. But I watched that video, and we talked about it last week, where the guy steps through 3 crab wells like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is horrible. Like, well, it's an OP ability, but this is like an extreme nerf to it.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is they get pulled to the center, right? Vortex and are rooted for 1 second. Seems like a reasonable thing. Like a lot can happen in 1 second. It doesn't completely change the dynamic in wars because multiple Gravwells going off at once. I'm okay with this. I feel like it's a fair approach.
I am going to be honest with you. I'm a little terrified because I think we're going to have a root meta in the sense of you're going to start seeing people run Great Axe like Void Gauntlet and they pull them in and they scream them all, right? And then because you can't dodge that, right? You're rooted. You can't use a movement ability when you're rooted.
Yep.
So you get that 1 second of if you can hot swap or have somebody ready with the scream, that's a free clump that you just rooted. And I think that's very, very concerning if it functions that way and pulls that many people and instant roots like a pack of 10, that's going to be an issue. So it's like we already have this clumping meta of scream.
Yeah.
What happens then? So
get your freedom. Your freedom ready to go.
Get your freedom.
Freedom
All
works.
Right.
Freedom works with scream, right?
Yeah, it does. It should. It should be root. Well, let's pivot into our next topic here, and this is something we mentioned again on your channel. I think everybody's seeing it as low player population. All right.
Yes.
I'm all sorts of mixed up from low player pops. But right now on Eden, and I know we were talking about this pre-show. Player pops are rough. We had Lost Ark release. We have other games out there. Content's in kind of a dry spell. We didn't get any news about a patch for any of these changes. We were hoping to see maybe this week, hopefully next week. Hoping it's not at the end of the month, but it's tough. Right now, every server I've heard of, every company is struggling with low player population. So what can people do? And I know we're talking about solo players on your channel, but what do you think people can be doing right now to kind of help with the low player population? What should people be doing on New World if they're going to keep playing New World? What I'm thinking.
Go ahead.
No. All you.
Okay. So what I've sort of seen in my Discord community is guys that actually sort of schedule time to do mutator runs with each other. And usually it's sort of a tag within the Discord, like, hey guys, we're going to get together at this time. And, I see 5 guys hop into voice chat, and that's always encouraging to see stuff like that. Yeah. So, sometimes, it's just a matter of just reminding the folks that you still want to play and just to get together and come together, just to do that with a simple ping. Because it is hard right now. We sort of talked about our guilds being in a state of dysfunction right now because, uh, like people are just sort of the attention has been split, it's been divided. And I
Yeah,
think don't want to quit. You also don't want to like show up in the game and not have anything to play with or anybody to play
exactly.
with or anything to do. I think a simple Discord ping and just be like, "Hey guys, I'm on. Is anybody want to do a mutator?" And I think that that's been pretty beneficial. Like a lot of people in our community sort of come around to that.
Yeah, I think the big thing that can be done is being in a company that's active. Finding other like-minded people, right,
Yep.
and finding people that want to play. I think this is again we were talking about our companies. I totally understand. There's been lots of people in my company, part of the community. So many people have not logged in for like a week, right?
Mhm.
And like the people that do log in, I totally respect it. Have tried to find more people that are on constantly because even myself, I'm busy. I got things going on, but I also just don't have the time or the things to do. So it's like I can't always be there. And I myself am probably going to start looking for companies and bringing some of my buddies with me, everybody that's still there that wants to play, because I think the most important thing right now is finding a group that you can actually play with, because you cannot be a solo player right now in New World.
Yep.
You just can't. It's almost impossible. You can't get into mutators. You can't really do anything else. You'll do your little daily thing and you're off. There's nothing else to do. At least if you're playing with other people, you're like, all right, let's go mess around, go do some PvP. Let's try and queue for an OPR. Let's try and push something. Let's try and
Yeah.
farm something.
So
And I think
yeah, we have a
that's the
guy
best
in
thing.
our guild that is like his sole responsibility is he looks to organize OPR and gear score runs.
Mhm.
That's just like he's part of the console and that's just what he does. So like every Sunday night, um, we're doing gear score runs or OPR, and it's just like
Yeah.
every pros all come out for that. But it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think in otherwise, if you are a solo player, you can start farming. You can start, grabbing stuff when player base is low so you can stockpile it for when player base gets high. Other than that, it's like I think the best thing you can do is just find other people. Agreed?
Agree.
Agreed. So I think this is a perfect pivot point to talking about new content. All right. So there isn't much to do for a solo player. There isn't much to do even for a group player at this point in time. What kinds of new content do you think is going to actually bring the player base back? Because I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and we were talking about this again pre-show. You look at the February PTR. We have bug fixes. We have some OPR changes that might bring some people back. But honestly, nothing's too new and shiny to be like, I'm playing Lost Ark. I'm having a fun time doing content. New World patch just came out. I'm going to come back. There's nothing that really screams that to me. And so I want to hear what you think, Urs. What do you think is going to start to bring back some of the player base as
Look
far as like
no
new content?
look no further than a veteran of the space in like SWOTOR, right? Star Wars:
Hmm.
The Old Republic. Literally released an update this week, a couple days ago. It's like new quest line, new storyline, new expeditions is what
Yeah,
expeditions
yeah,
for us.
something. Yeah,
Um, they've completely changed like somehow their classes work and
and like
allow
character
for like
design, right?
branching different
Yeah,
abilities. I don't know. I've seen an uptick in people playing a SWOTOR, and I just look at something like that, and it's not the February update. It's
it's
the
an
Dark Lords of
expansion
the
pack.
Sith
It's
expansion
yeah, it's
pack.
an expansion. Yeah,
And
yeah,
like that
and
is what I always will say is like New World needs to adapt that mindset. And if they're
mhm,
not going to monetize the game through subscription models or cash shop or anything like, I mean, they have the cash shop, but it's cosmetics only right now. If they're
yeah,
not going to monetize the game through a subscription model or battle passes and things like that, I think they need to monetize the game through expansion
yeah.
pack.
You're,
And I'd
you're
be
right,
fine with that.
and
I would gladly pay the $20 to
I
get
would
Brimstone
gladly do
Sands or
that too.
whatever next one's
I
going to
would.
be.
As long as it's like enough content, right?
It's
Like it's
got
not like,
they
oh, I don't
gotta
want to
have
pay for one zone.
They got they got to
That's it.
check the boxes though. They got to have
Yes.
like a new expedition, new bosses, new characters, or new enemy types. They have to have stuff
Every like
across
an
the board.
expansion pack worth of stuff, you
Yes,
know,
not
and like different mechanics, different systems, stuff that gets added into the game.
yep.
Not just, hey, we have February patch, we have March, April, May, and not really release any like I think the biggest surge of content we probably got from people coming back is when Void Gauntlet came
We
out and
got it.
things were
Yep.
booming, right? And since then we haven't had any new content that's gonna be like, come play. Even if they put in a new weapon right now, I think some people would be like, oh, I'll check it out. But
We
it's not
got
gonna
we got
retain people.
Blunderbuss and daggers on the horizon. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
where's
well,
Blunderbuss?
and, like, when is any of that stuff coming, right?
Yep.
It's interesting, but I just think as far as new content, I will say I streamed today, and I'm hoping Friday goes a little bit better, but I went on, none of my friends are on, people are playing Lost Ark. Anybody I would have ran mutators with was on Lost Ark, And I went in and I did my dailies and I sat there and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I could go clear my quests that I haven't done. Otherwise, what else am I going to do? I joined in on a chess run, right? There
I
wasn't anything for me
heard you calling it high
to do.
octane questing the other day.
Yeah, high octane. I titled my stream "New World Player Tries to Find High Octane Content," and I sat there and quested for 4 or 5 hours, and it was like that was the most content I could do as a solo player at that point in time
Yeah.
because I don't have anybody to run the mutator with, right?
And that's just brutal, right? Like you're just like,
Yeah,
I'm doing these quests, and I know you're not a lore guy. You don't care about
yeah.
story.
No,
Like,
I don't. God, yeah,
so
no.
that's
Yeah,
tough, right? See, for me,
and
like, I'm so excited for this new patch because like I can start like when the new patch comes out, I'll be able to just queue up for OPR.
yes,
That'll achieve so many things, right? That'll achieve gypsum for Ruby. That'll achieve gear score bumps. That'll achieve PvP gear. It's just gonna do so
big
many
umbral
things.
shards.
Pearl
Yeah.
shards.
And they're adding in good gear. They're actually
Yes.
adding in some of the best PvP gear. They're getting rid of like the beast wards. They're adding in good PvP gear
Mm-hmm.
that makes it. There's a
Mm-hmm.
point to PvP, but then there's also like, okay, I can get my umbral shards here. Like you can actually be a PvP player and do endgame.
Yeah.
And I think that's gonna be big. But again, I don't think it's gonna be enough for
Right. Well, here's the
Joe
thing. Like,
Schmo to come back.
yeah, yeah. Joe Smo's not coming back for
Yeah,
OPR.
no,
Like,
no.
there's just no way because like he's already behind now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there ain't no catching up. And we've sort of talked about that. Yeah, man, it is brutal right now, and I feel your pain. I streamed it for a little bit tonight, and I did my chess runs, and I told you earlier that my chess set hadn't refreshed, so I got out to Merc and I sneaked the first chess, and I'm like, oh, it's not even refreshed.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this is crazy.
Yeah, and then there goes your concept. But I think again, biggest thing we could do is we're gonna have a little bit of a dry spell here, get the things ironed out, but then let's really start working on small amounts of content, but leading up to a bigger content patch. I think honestly, don't even do monthly updates. Give us every couple months, but actually give us content in those monthly updates. Those
Yep.
like tri-monthly update, whatever you want to do. But I think we're in agreement. I think expansion packs would be big, right? All right.
I'm into that.
Well, that is what we have today, folks. As always, keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. Hit this channel, hit Urz's channel, and hopefully you have a good rest of your weekend, whenever you're watching. Urz, you got any shout outs or anything before we
No,
leave?
you guys just hang in
All
there.
right.
It's a dark time right now, but just hang in there. The bones of this
Hang in there.
game are very strong. Just take it a little less seriously. You don't have
Skin's
to
just
quit.
falling off.
Yep.
Skin's falling off the bone a little bit. But we're there. Bones are there.
Bones
All
are
right.
there.
Peace, everybody.